Turn now to some devastating news out of the United States. At least 42 people have been found dead in the back of a truck in Texas. 12 others have been taken to hospital following the discovery near San Antonio. Fox News reporter Jordan Elder filed this update.
The scene here along Quintana Road is still very active. Lots of law enforcement going in and out. We've seen ambulances as well. The Archbishop of San Antonio is reporting that 49 migrants died in an 18-wheeler just up this road. We're still waiting for official confirmation on all of these numbers and any injuries, but we do know that at least 9 people were transferred to hospitals in San Antonio. We've seen a lot of law enforcement looking at these train tracks over here, searching through with some equipment, and again a lot of law enforcement in and out of this scene, so still very active. A lot of neighbors have come out as well. Right behind me here, a lot of neighbors have lined up just looking to see what's going on, and many of them tell me that they came here today to pray after hearing what might have occurred here, and that this is a known drop point for migrants, but they've never seen anything like this.
And for more, joining us live is Nick Miroff, the national security reporter for The Washington Post. Really appreciate your time, Nick. Thank you. This is just heartbreaking. What else do we know about such a terrible incident?
We don't have a lot of information at this point. The authorities haven't confirmed how many bodies they've recovered. We know it's at least 40, and more than a dozen people were taken to the hospital. We know that this is part of a pattern of smuggling that has really picked up in the last 2 years. The number of immigration arrests that the U.S. authorities are making along the Mexico border is at its highest levels ever. And some of the folks who climb into these trailers, who are placed in there by smugglers, are trying to get past highway checkpoints. Tragically, this group of people has succumbed to what is likely to be a terrible and unimaginable situation inside that truck.
You mentioned this is a pattern. Sadly, this sort of incident has happened before, hasn't it? But has it happened on this scale?
Not on this scale. I mean, we're looking through historical records right now, and we haven't found anything with this many victims. You're right that this has occurred in the past, but again, more than 40 would likely be the deadliest incident of this kind in U.S. history.
So, what is the situation there on the border? You mentioned that police have apprehended vehicles like this crossing over. That's quite a regular occurrence. How common is this? How big a challenge is this for law enforcement?
Well, this is just one of many ways that people are being smuggled and are migrating. But what I was referring to earlier are the record numbers of immigration arrests along the Mexico border made by federal immigration authorities trying to capture and apprehend people as they're coming across from Mexico. But what we're seeing here is people being smuggled in the back of a truck. They're in San Antonio, Texas. That's several hours north of the border. But the area where this truck was found is right along a major highway interstate that runs south to north. And so, with the increase in illegal migration, we have seen an uptick in incidents of this kind. And many cases, migrants are discovered in the backs of these trucks. They're taken into custody. The drivers are arrested. But in some part, it's precisely to avoid tragedies like this, because obviously traveling in the back of a truck like that in the middle of the summer in the United States, where temperatures are in excess of 40 degrees Celsius, that's extremely dangerous.
You mentioned that in these instances, the drivers of the trucks are apprehended. What happens to the people found in the back of the truck in this instance? Are they sent back? Are they imprisoned? What happens to them?
Well, it depends. If they have a claim, for asylum or some kind of humanitarian protection in the United States, then they would get an opportunity to present that claim to immigration authorities. But if they don't have a basis for remaining in the United States, they would be deported back to their countries of origin.
Has there been a major shift between the Trump administration and the Biden administration's approach to this issue?
Yeah, a very significant shift. I mean, we have seen a complete 180 in terms of the kind of rhetoric coming out of the White House, as well as many of the policies. In the early days of the Biden administration, the government reversed many of the enforcement actions that the Trump administration had taken, whether that's building the border wall or sending migrants back to Mexico to await asylum hearings. We've seen major reversals of the Trump policies and a Biden administration attempting to implement, a more lenient approach that the administration considers a more humane one. They have been dealt a series of setbacks in court, but undoubtedly right now we're seeing, more people trying to cross the border and being taken into custody than ever before.
How coordinated is the trafficking organisation? Is it a hodgepodge situation where individual drivers are involved, or is this sort of an organised operation that's happening by organised crime groups, or who's organising it?
These are smuggling networks linked to transnational criminal organizations in Mexico that engage in drug trafficking and any number of other criminal enterprises. These operations are highly coordinated. The people aboard that truck are paying thousands of dollars to be smuggled this way. And this is a billion-dollar industry in Mexico.